Bitcoin is trading at $83,000 and I am done with crypto. So this is probably my last video and then I'm just gonna step away from crypto for a while because I'm just tired of it. You know, too many scams, too much manipulation. We haven't really had a bull market and you know, many years of doing this. I'm ready to walk away. But it is April 1st, so maybe that caught you off guard. Maybe it didn't. I am obviously joking. Happy April Fools. So what we have here, guys, is we just have had the monthly close. And I want to walk you through some charts and just share with you my opinion on how things look. Now, this is the monthly chart of a Bitcoin. And you can see we closed in the red. 2 consecutive red months here for Bitcoin. And what is not so nice here to see, for the bulls at least, is this candle that we just had. You can see during the month we had this run up where it went all the way up to 94. That was basically on that manipulation tweet from Donald Trump or whoever is behind that, where they were talking about the strategic reserve, and after that we pulled all the way back down, showing that the bears are more in control than the bulls. The bulls tried to push it up, they couldn't keep it. Bears pushed it down, closed it in the red. So with the upper wick being longer than the lower wick over here, that is typically a more bearish thing. And I would say that probably leads to more downside. I think there's a chance that this goes down to into the 70s, maybe even lower than that. You can see over here the 50 monthly moving average, which has basically been support for Bitcoin since many years, for the past 10 years or so. That is currently sitting at around 46,000, which is also just below these lows over here. So I'm not saying that we are going there just yet, because there are some levels and technically we are still in a bullish trend, but it is not impossible that we might go a bunch lower in the coming weeks and months first before continuing the uptrend, because I do think that eventually we'll go into multiple 6 figures per Bitcoin. But whether that happens now or 4 years from now or 10 years from now, that still remains to be seen. Eventually I think it'll get there, but for now this shorter term trend is, in my opinion, bearish. So what I want to show you real quick is on Bitcoin specifically, just the weekly time frame and the lower time frames, to give you some levels there, and then we'll go look at some other things too. So let's change this to the weekly chart, and you can see here technically we are still in a bull trend as long as we are above this blue 50 moving average. That has been the bull kind of line in the sand for these markets until we lose it. Okay, so you can see we've stayed above here. This is currently sitting at about 77,000 at this point in time. So it is going to be very important for this to hold. If we lose this 50-week moving average with a weekly close below it, then we're starting to look at a potential longer bear market, a potential deeper correction, potentially $60,000, $50,000, $40,000 if we lose this. For now, it has still been holding as support, and just like in the previous times when it has held as support, it is possible that we go higher from here. However, changing this down to, let's just keep it at a 3-day chart here. You can see we are currently below the 50 moving average on the 3-day chart. But what we also have over here, guys, is that we are here below this descending trend line. Okay, so there is this selling pressure. We also have what we can very simply see here as support that we broke down below it. We retested it and it rejected. So the support has now become resistance, which is typically a bearish thing. Okay, we are below this 3-day 50 moving average. We're below the descending trend line. We are below this support now flipped resistance. So it is simple at this point in time, in my opinion, what the strategy is. And nobody ever truly knows what is going to happen next. Okay, we're all just looking at probabilities. So we look at the charts and we look at what is likely to happen and have a plan for whatever strategy presents itself. So right now, in my opinion, we are bearish until we can at least reclaim this blue box. If we get above 92,000, 93,000, something like that, then it's very possible that the bulls are back in control and we continue back up and potentially even to new all-time highs. Until then, though, we are under all this resistance and the trend in the short term is bearish, and I think we just go lower. Now, how much lower we go, that remains to be seen. We obviously have these highs as a level over here, about 72,000, and then we have about these lows over here, so somewhere in there, and then we have to take it level to level. Okay, it's completely possible that maybe it finds support here and goes higher, otherwise maybe over here. So we'll see how that goes. So my expectation for now is probably still the low 70,000s, but if we reclaim 92,000, then obviously it's much more bullish. And until then, it's just sitting here in the middle at 84,000, and we just have to wait and see what happens. Okay, so that is basically the levels for Bitcoin to watch. And as you probably know, whatever Bitcoin does, altcoins probably do the same. And that means if Bitcoin is chopping or going lower, altcoins are probably going to chop or go lower. And until Bitcoin can reclaim this 92, 93,000 and continue going higher, altcoins are probably not going to go much higher. So if we look at the Ethereum monthly chart, Ethereum is currently trading at 1,881. And as you can see, this chart looks a lot more bearish than Bitcoin does. And that's simply because with Bitcoin, we've had 2 consecutive bearish months. With Ethereum, we have now had 4 consecutive bearish months. The last 4 months, it has pretty much been down only, and Ethereum went from $4,100, it dropped by more than 50% currently. Now, what we also have with Ethereum is it's below the 50-week moving average. Remember, with Bitcoin, it's still well above its 50 MA on monthly, but here with Ethereum, it's already below it. That's technically bearish. You can see it held the support all the way here in the 2022 bear market lows, and now it's broken below that. It's also broken below this rising trend line. So we have a clear bearish trend to the downside over the past 4 months. We're below the 50 MA on monthly. We're below this trend line, and quite simply, that is just bearish. And until we reclaim this 50 MA on monthly, which is about $2,450, I think it's very possible we might actually continue to sweep the lows of the 2022 bear market. Right? So that is a possibility. So we basically have this level over here, which we need to reclaim. We get above, say, 2,500, and maybe the bulls have a shot at running it back up to the all-time highs. Until then, though, it looks like this trend is very much bearish, and running these lows here, which would be well below $1,000, is not impossible. If we get some serious selling off and Bitcoin loses a 50 weekly moving average, then I suspect Ethereum and a lot of altcoins are going to go lower, and maybe it does something like this. It sweeps the lows and then eventually goes back up again. Now, of course, if it does reclaim this, then different story. Okay, so those are basically the 2 scenarios I see for Ethereum, but I must say at this point in time, it does look bearish. Now you can look at Solana also. It's $130, give or take at this point in time. And Solana also, it's down by 50%. It went more than 50%. It went from $300 to now $130 in the last 3 months. The last 2 months have been big bearish red months. And again, until we reclaim at least the high of last month, so until we get above 180, I think this trend is bearish and it could still go lower. We have these lows over here, so that's likely to sweep it. We have the 50 monthly moving average just a little bit below, and then, you know, who knows, this is what is acting as potential support. It's not much. There's not much historical price action here, so this could still go lower. And until we flip this level again, this 180, that's when it starts to get more bullish. Until then, you know, we're chopping around here, and the trend in the short term, in my opinion, is still lower. You can also look at, for example, a lot of these altcoins. XRP monthly candle, the last 2 candles have been red, bearish. And you can see here, specifically with XRP, the previous month here in March, we had this push all the way back up, almost to the highs, pulled all the way back down, showing that the bears are likely in control here. And keep in mind, this is a massive, massive pump that happened here in November, and there's not much support here, right? So if this is all bearish, which the charts are hinting at, and we drop lower, this could go quite a bit lower quite quickly. It could drop 25 to 50% pretty easily. It could drop back to $1 pretty easily, maybe all the way back to retracing this pump, as it has done in the past. You can see In the previous cycle, it almost completely retraced the pump. Will it happen again? Time will tell, but there's nothing specifically bullish that I see about these monthly charts at this point in time. Of course, that can change pretty quickly if certain levels get reclaimed, but for now, in my opinion, it looks pretty bearish. If we are looking at, for example, the SPX, so the US stock market index, you can see here, this is the monthly close. We have now had 2 consecutive red bearish months, and this is quite a bearish candle the last month. It is a big red candle that closed almost near the lows, and as you can see, it is quite a distance now away from this 50 monthly moving average. And what tends to happen, as you can see, going back all the way to 2009, is we have these regular kind of taps of or reversions to this mean, where basically the price extends, it goes on a bullish run, it extends too far above, and it kind of cools off, has a bit of a correction, and pulls back to that 50 monthly. You can see over here, it happened in 2016, it happened in 2018, it happened in 2020, it happened in 2022, and that was the last time in 2022. So if we are going to have another correction like that back to the 50 monthly moving average, that's at 4,700 on the S&P, which means that from current levels, that is still about a 16% drop. Now, if the SPX is going to drop, it means the Dow Jones is going to drop, it means the NASDAQ is going to drop, it means probably global indices, European indices, Asian indices are probably also going to drop, which means that if the stock market is going to drop another 10, 15, maybe 20%, it is probably likely that crypto is also going to drop because of, especially lately, this previous year or two since the ETFs, how institutionalized Bitcoin has become. And if the stock market is selling off and traditional investors are reducing their exposure or taking their profits or cutting their losses, they might also very easily do so with the ETFs in Bitcoin, which could lead to a larger sell-off in Bitcoin and in crypto and everything together in the shorter term. It doesn't mean we are in complete bear market territory yet because, as you can see here, since 2011 basically, or since 2010, since the SPX reclaimed this 50 moving average on monthly, as long as it's above it, it's still in a bull market technically. So we could drop this 10-15% on the stock markets and still be in a bull trend, create a lot of panic, a lot of fear, people get liquidated, and after that it creates a base and maybe it continues to new all-time highs once again without losing the bull trend that we've been in since basically 2009. So as you can see, this is Bitcoin once again, $84,000. We need to reclaim 92 to 90, I would say 94,000 is the level. We reclaim 94,000, I would start to get bullish again. Until then, I think we're in a short or medium term bearish trend, and I think we are still going to go lower. How much lower? We have to keep an eye on the lower time frames, on the weekly, on the 3-day, and the daily chart, and assess it as it goes. But it could be anywhere between the 70,000s and maybe even the 50,000s. Depending on how bad everything else sells off, if it does sell off. So that is my update at the end of Q1 of 2025. At the end of March, we've had those 3 months. We're basically a year after the previous Bitcoin halving that happened in April of 2024. So now let's see what happens for this month ahead. And if you enjoyed this, smash the like button, leave a comment down below, let me know your thoughts, share this with a friend, and I will see you in the next video.